Welcome to today's Naval Academy. I'll call it a lesson, but this is our first in a series of videos dealing with house rules. So, before we get started, a little caveat here. House rules, remember, are entirely optional and they're very local. They're rules that are only used by certain groups based on choice, and it's a local agreement. Okay, these are not something that goes, that's global. So, take these ideas, throw out the ones you don't want, take the ones you do like, use them, add to them, whatever. These are just to give some discussion points and hopefully encourage discussion and thoughts about house rules. So anyway, on to the video. Alright, now the first one we're going to cover is Fireships. Fireships are really not a bad entry in the rules the way they are. I just have one thing that I would like to change, and so in my house rule, I would add that change. So here's how the Fireships would basically the way they work is the way they're defined in the game. However, they would be crewed, and you would sail them up to a certain point in the battle. Again, they have no guns, so you're not fighting with them, but it has a skeleton crew, just enough to keep, sail it, and then light the flammable material. At a certain point in the battle, what the crew will do then is they will light the ship, and then they will bail out in the we'll call them lifeboats, but the ship's boats, okay, and off they go, rowing away as fast as they can. And the ship is essentially on, I'll call it autopilot, but it's locked in a single direction. The helm is locked, it's secured to go in a certain direction, and that's it. It just continues sailing. So, you can't do that in the game. You start with the ship already ablaze, and it can threaten your ships. There's no chance in most scenarios for you to position that ship in such a way that it could be of any use without potentially risking your ships. So, here's the house rule. Two pieces. The first one is the ships can they begin crewed and they're not ablaze. So they act like a normal ship with the stats there. At any point, at the end of any turn, you can declare that, I should say at the beginning of every turn, you can declare that the crew is lighting the ship and bailing out. At that point, you will set you'll set the thing on fire, and it will go battle sail, and it'll make one battle sail move as a regular ship. The fire is started, but it hasn't grown enough to threaten any other ship. Okay. Now, so that's the turn you abandon it. It gives you some chance to move it ahead and slow your other ships down so that you don't end up with the fire ship in the middle of your fleet. The fire ship is further out ahead as it would have actually been used. And that gives you some more flexibility. It also provides you the opportunity to avoid the fatal first turn, or I should say second turn wind change. Because remember, a fire ship, as soon as the wind change, it starts to move in a random direction. You don't want that when you've only moved it a little bit compared to the rest of your fleet. So this gives you a little more control over the timing of lighting it. Alright, the second change for this house rule is very simple. As long as the crew is on board and it's not lit, the strike value matters. So the enemy can shoot at it. You can tell it's a fire ship because it is not crewed as heavily, it has no guns, and it is stacked with flammables, and everything's up ready to be lit. So with some practice and experience, enemy crews would know a ship to likely be a fire ship. So enemy might shoot them. So while it's crewed and while it's not lit, that's when the ship can take damage enough to bring it below the strike value and you have to strike colors. That would work. However, as soon as the crew bails out, leaves the ship and has lit it, now there is no strike value. You cannot force it to strike its colors. It will be continuing to sail until it is wrecked. That is what I would call a good change to fire ship rule. It makes them more of a tool than an automaton that just kind of works down the table. Okay, And it does give the opponent a little more pause because there is no point which they can cause it to strike and be safe. They have to completely destroy it. So, one other aspect, would be more of a house rule clarification, is that you cannot do a boarding action against the ship the turn it is lit. So there's no crew on it. Okay, it started on fire. So you really can't do a boarding action, grapple with it, and because the very next turn you're going to be on fire. There's no crew to fight, and you're not going to be able to put the fire out because that's not how fireships were designed. They were designed to burn and burn well. So that would be, now of course you can do a boarding action up until the turn that it is lit and take it over that way. So that's the house rule for fireships. Small change. I think it puts a little more flavor and makes them a little more, in my opinion, fun to play with, especially if you're a pyromaniac. All right, so thank you for sitting through this one, and kind of share your thoughts below. Ideas, yes, no. It doesn't matter really what your opinion of the rule is, as far as there is no right or wrong answer, right? But feedback is always helpful. Is the house rule the way I presented it? How does it sound? Because I like it, and we'll probably use it. And anything that I can learn from your perspectives, well, that can only improve the house rule of the game, right? All right, so enjoy. Please share, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.